Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into something that affects almost all of us, our relationship with our screens, especially our phones. So let's get right into it.
So let me ask you something. Have you ever been absolutely positive your phone just buzzed in your pocket? You reach for it, check the screen, and nothing. Not a single notification. Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. It's an incredibly common feeling, and it's the perfect jumping off point for our conversation today. You see, that little phantom buzz isn't just some random quirk. It's actually a piece of a much larger puzzle that scientists and researchers are taking very seriously. So let's go from that familiar feeling to the actual phenomenon behind it. Okay, so the official term researchers use is problematic smartphone usage, or PSU for short. Now, it's really important to get this. We're not talking about a chemical addiction. This is a behavioral pattern. It's all about the things we do with our phones, whether that's endlessly scrolling through content or feeling that constant pull of social interaction. And as our phones have become, central to our lives, a few new terms have popped up. First, there's nomophobia. This is the very real, often intense fear of being without your mobile phone. It's that jolt of anxiety when you leave the house and realize your phone is still on the kitchen counter. And then we have textaphrenia. This one is a bit more specific. It's that anxious feeling that you can't send or receive text messages, like you've been totally cut off from your main line of communication with the world. Which, of course, brings us right back to where we started. Phantom vibrations. This is so common that it's actually seen as a kind of hallucination-like symptom. Your brain is so primed, so ready for that next notification that, well, it's literally just making it up. So where's the line? When does using your phone a lot cross over from just being a habit, maybe an annoying one, into something that could be a genuine clinical issue? Well, researchers have actually proposed a set of formal criteria to help figure that out. This table really lays it all out. To even consider a diagnosis, someone would need to meet several of these criteria. So on the left, you've got the internal symptoms, things like failing to control your impulses or withdrawal. That antsy, irritable feeling you get when you can't use your phone. Then on the right, you have what's called functional impairment. This is all about how it affects your actual life. Is it getting in the way of your relationships or your job? Are you using it in dangerous situations, like while driving? It's that combination of the internal struggle and the real-world consequences that really defines the problem. And look, this goes way beyond just feeling distracted. Problematic smartphone use can have real, measurable physical effects on both our brains and our bodies. Let's dig into some of those hidden costs. Now, this one really stops you in your tracks. We're not just talking about feelings or bad habits anymore. We are talking about actual physical changes to the structure of your brain. Just let that sink in. Heavy phone use is linked to changes in the volume of your gray matter. So which parts of the brain are we talking about here? Well, studies have found reduced gray matter in some key areas. There's the caudate nucleus, which handles reward and impulsivity. That's the part that gives you that just one more scroll feeling. Then you have the orbitofrontal cortex, which is critical for making good decisions. The anterior cingulate cortex, your brain's own error checker, is also impacted. And even the superior cerebellar peduncle, which plays a role in motivation. When these areas are physically altered, it's really no wonder it becomes so hard to manage those impulses. And the effects don't just stop in the brain. Oh no. The research shows clear connections to other health issues. Sleep disorders are a big one. That blue light and constant stimulation really mess with our ability to fall asleep and get good rest. There's also a link to eating disorders and, perhaps less surprisingly, to physical pain like tech neck. And of course, it makes sense, right? The more time we spend looking at a screen, the less time we're moving our bodies. Okay, so after all that kind of heavy stuff, right? The most important question is, what on earth can we do about it? Well, the good news is there is a clear path forward with proven strategies that can help. One of the absolute gold standards for treatment is something called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. You've probably heard of it. It's a scientifically backed therapy that's all about helping people identify, challenge, and ultimately change the negative thought patterns and habits that are driving the behavior. It's about building new skills. So what does CBT for smartphone addiction actually look like? Well, a study out of Morocco provides a fantastic blueprint. It starts with cognitive restructuring. That's a fancy term for learning to challenge thoughts like, I need to check my phone now. Then it uses things like virtual exposure to help people see the real consequences of overuse. It also builds practical skills like using mindfulness to handle tough emotions, using role-playing to improve real-life social skills, and planning out real-world activities to replace screen time. And the big question, did it work? Well, the data here is pretty striking. This chart shows the scores on an internet addiction test after the treatment. The control group, the ones who didn't get CBT, their scores barely budged. But the group that went through CBT, their addiction scores dropped significantly. The numbers really do speak for themselves. And here's the best part. This wasn't just some temporary fix. When the researchers checked back in 3 months later, the improvements were still there. That shows that the skills people learned in therapy actually stuck with them, leading to long-term change. All right, so we've looked at the signs, the science, and a powerful solution. So what's the big takeaway for all of us trying to find a healthier balance in this super connected world? It really all boils down to awareness. That is the first and most important step. Just understanding the warning signs, knowing the real impact this can have on your brain and body, and knowing that there are effective strategies out there. That knowledge is power. It gives you the tools you need to start building a healthier, more intentional relationship with technology. And so that really just leaves us with one final thought. The goal isn't to get rid of technology entirely. That's just not realistic. It's about finding a balance that works for you. So take a second to really think about it. What does digital wellness truly look like in your life?